The Cruel Boys are one of the more prominent orc cultures recently emerged into the mortal realms. These lean and lanky swamp dwellers embody the cunning morkish aspect of their great two-headed god, Gorka Morka. Above his gorkish brutality, though, they've got veneration enough for both. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Miniatures Tavern. My name is Watts, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Spearhead box, Orruk Warclans, the Swampskulka Gang. Now, this video was requested. Thank you so much. I have more requests that I'm going to be working on. If you have a request, just drop it in the comments, and I will add it to my queue. So let's go ahead and jump in and take a look at what we got. So the Orruk Warclans Swampskulka Gang. The unit composition is you're going to get one Killab Boss on a great Nash Tooth. He's going to be your general. You're going to get one Morknob with Belchabana. You're going to get a 3-man Skewer Boltboys. You're going to get 5 Gut Rippers, another unit of 5 Gut Rippers, and then finally 1 Beast Skewer Killbow. You're looking at 16 total models in the box, and it's coming in at 780 total points. You could find this box at the following places. You could grab this box from Games Workshop for $145. You could find this box on Amazon for $123.25. And you could find this on eBay for $110 to $129.99. As always, if you're looking to buy it off of Amazon, check out the links below. When you use those affiliate links of ours, you help support the channel, and we really appreciate it. So let's go ahead and jump into the cards. As far as Cruel Boys are concerned, fighting fair is an idiotic concept. Swampskulka gangs exemplify the cruelty, underhanded approach to warfare so beloved by these Orruks. For their entire purpose is to leave the enemy agonized, hobbled, and helpless. Under the wily guidance of a Killab Boss, they stalk their victims through the wilds of the realms for days, waiting for the perfect moment to launch a murderous ambush. The first Cruel Boys' chosen quarry knows of their fate is when dozens of barbed missiles come whistling out of the murk to sink into their flesh, as chortling bolt boys relish their victims' shocked horror. Anything that looks big enough to cause the Orruk serious bother is dealt with by an oversized harpoon hurled by a beast skewer killbow. As the enemy reels in the face of its deadly hail, the kill boss charges into their mid atop his great Nash Tooth mount, seeking glory trophies to prove his cunning. Following closely behind come lanky Orruk warriors, led by a Morknob brandishing a foul-smelling and loudly bellowing Belchabana. These gut rippers stomp forwards to fall upon the stricken foe. Spilling intensifies and poking out eyes with their venom-dripping weapons, while keeping a few prisoners alive to torment at their leisure, of course. Then we have our quote, "Unlucky long ears. Bet you wish you'd snuff it along with your mates, don't ya? Morknob Gritstab the Peeler." He sounds frightening. So now it's time to take a look at the battle traits for this Spearhead. Now remember, battle traits in Age of Sigmar, Games of Spearhead, are like army rules for 40k. So once per battle, in any combat phase, you have the Cruel Boys Wah. You can pick your general to use this ability, then pick another friendly unit wholly within 12 inches of them to be the target. And the effect is your general and the target have the strike first this phase. Now, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's pretty powerful because in Age of Sigmar, the way the rules work is when you charge a unit, the active player gets to pick the first combat. And any unit that has the strike first ability, that pops off first before any combat. So technically you can charge in, strike first, and then your other units get to fight. So it's a pretty powerful ability here, strike first this phase. So it's not like a typical WOG. You only have one unit and your general, but if you keep them close together, you charge them in, it could be pretty powerful. Next up, we have the regiment abilities. You can pick one of the following regiment abilities. You have a passive ability called Noisy Racket, and you're going to subtract 1 from the wound rolls for attacks made by enemy units in the first battle round. So that gives you a little bit of durability. And then you have start of the first battle round covered in mud. You're going to pick a friendly unit to use this ability, and in this battle, that unit is not visible to enemy models that are more than 12 inches away from it. So you pick this in the first battle round, and then in the battle, so the way I take that is the entire battle, that unit has a 12-inch buffer, so kind of like Lone Operative of 40k, which is really good. So you got nice battle trait, and you got some regiment abilities that you could pick from. Remember, regiment abilities, you can only pick one, so choose wisely. Next up, guys, we're going to take a look at the enhancement abilities. Now, you can pick one. You can give your general one of the following enhancements. And it looks like the enhancements for the Orruks, you have one that's passive, one that pops off once per turn in your hero phase, once per battle in your enemy movement phase, and once per battle in any combat phase. So let's go over them. The passive ability is Egomaniac. And the effect of this is, if any other friendly units are within your general's combat range, before you allocate a damage point to your general, roll a dice. On a 4-up, you must allocate that damage point to one of those units instead. So this is going to give your general some durability, which is pretty nice. It's going to be able, you're going to be able to allocate that damage to the units that he's with before you put any damage on him. And again, that's the passive ability. The once per turn in your hero phase is called Cunning Plan. You're going to pick a friendly unit wholly within 12 inches of your general. And if that unit uses a retreat ability this turn, no mortal damage is inflicted on it, and it can still use the shoot and or charge ability later in the turn. So this is pretty nice. Remember, when you retreat in games of Spearhead, you have to roll a dice, and that unit takes D3 mortal damage. This is going to negate that. You're going to be able to fall back or retreat, and then you're still going to be able to shoot, and you're still going to be able to charge later in that turn. So that's pretty nice. Once per battle, this one pops off in your enemy movement phase. It's called Mork's Eye Pebble. In the next shooting phase, friendly units have a ward 5 up while they are wholly within 12 inches of your general. So any unit that's within 12 inches, you could put your general in the middle of the battlefield and kind of keep your other units within 12 inches of him, and they're going to get a 5-up ward throughout the entire game. Remember, ward is like a feel no pain in 40k. You're going to roll a dice after you roll your saves, and any saves you fail, your opponent's going to let you know how much damage their weapons do to your unit, and you're going to be able to roll against that damage, and on a 5-up, you're just going to bounce and negate that damage. So a little more durability there. And then finally, once per battle in any combat phase, you have the Eye Bitter Ash. You're going to pick an enemy unit in combat with your general and roll a dice. On a 1 to 4, you're going to subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by that unit for the rest of the phase. But on a 5-up, you're going to subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by that unit for the rest of the battle. So this was kind of like a lottery, right? You're going to roll a dice. If you get a 1 to 4, great. You're going to subtract 1 from the hit roll for your opponent for that fight phase. And if you roll a 5 or a 6, you're going to subtract 1 from hit rolls for the rest of the game. So you got some nice enhancements here. You're going to have to pick whether you want to make your general durable, whether you want that passive ability, the hero phase ability, if you want a reaction ability in your enemy's movement phase, or if you want to play the lottery and gamble for a -1 to hit for the rest of the game. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and jump into the meat and potatoes of this Spearhead box, and let's start with the Killab Boss on Great Gnash Tooth. He's got 10 health, he's going to move 10 inches, he's going to save on a 3-up, and he has 2 control points. He is armed with melee weapons. He's got the Jagged Boss Sticka. You're looking at 4 attacks, hitting and wounding on 3s, 1 rend, 2 damage, and he does mortals. So on the wound roll, if you roll 6s, you're gonna do mortal wounds. That's 2 damage per 6, and the only way your opponent can save that is if they have a ward. So that's pretty awesome. Then you have the Gnashtooth Bone Crushing Fangs. He's gonna get 5 attacks. He hits on 4s. He wounds on 3s. He has rend 1 and 2 damage. But he does have the companion keyword. And remember, in games of Spearhead and in Age of Sigmar, anything that has the companion keyword, that means it cannot get any ability buffs to its attacks or to its damage. What you see is what you get. And then he has an ability that can pop off in your hero phase. It's called All Part of the Plan. You can pick a friendly unit wholly within 9 inches of this unit to be the target, and you cannot pick this unit. So you can't put this on yourself. He can't put this on himself. What you're going to do is you're going to add 3 to the target's control score until the start of your next turn. So that is pretty nice. And his keywords are going to be hero and cavalry. Next up, we got the Murder Knob with Belcha Banner. He has 6 health. He's going to move 5 inches. He saves on 4 ups, but he has a whopping 5 control. He is also armed with melee weapons, the Merc Knob Cleaver. He's got 4 attacks. He's hitting on 4s. He's wounded on 3s. He's got 1 rend, damage 2, and he also does mortals. Pretty awesome. He has an ability that can pop off any combat phase called Breath of the Mere Drakes. You're going to roll a dice for each enemy unit in combat with him, with this unit. On a 1, nothing happens. On a 2 to 5, you're going to inflict 1 mortal damage on that enemy unit. Or on a 6, you're going to inflict D3 mortal damage to that unit. Pretty powerful. He is pretty chonky and pretty nasty. His keywords are hero and infantry. Next up, we got the Gut Rippers. Now remember, you get 2 5-man units on these Gut Rippers. They have 2 health, they move 5 inches, they save on 5s, and they have 1 control point. They have Wicked Haka, which comes in at 2 attacks, hitting on 4s, wounding on 3s, 0 ren, 1 damage, but they also do mortals. So far, everything in this Spearhead is going to do mortals, so warm those dice up and roll 6s. They have an ability, any combat phase, it's called Scare Tactics. You're going to roll a dice, and on a 3-up, you're going to subtract 1 from the hit rolls for attacks that target this unit this phase. This ability has no effect on attacks made by heroes. So this is pretty nice. It's similar to one of the enhancements you can give your general. So it's nice to see that there's some synergy there, and there's, you know, a whole theme going on. So pretty decent. These are definitely going to be your go-get-em guys. These are going to be the dudes that are moving across the board, skittering across the board to grab those objectives and score those secondaries 100%. So pretty decent. And then finally, we have, no, not finally, we have one more after this, I believe. We have the Skewer Boltboys are next. Now, they have 2 health, they move 5 inches, they save on 5, they have 1 control point. These guys do have ranged weapons, which is nice. They have the Skewer crossbow. You have an 18-inch range, which in Spearhead, that is a very decent range. Comes in at 2 attacks, hitting on 4s. Wounding on 3s, they have 1 rend, damage 2, but they're going to auto wound. So on your hit roll, if you're rolling 6s, You're going to automatically auto wound. You're not even going to roll a wound. That's pretty nice. 2 attacks each. So there you go. And then their melee weapons are Jaggedy Blade. They get 1 attack. They hit on 4s. They wound on 3. They have 0 rend. They do 1 damage. And they also get crit mortals. Awesome. So it looks like every unit so far has mortals. Roll 6s. They have a passive ability called Pick 'em Off. You're going to add 1 to hit rolls for this unit's shooting attacks if it has not used a move ability this turn. So that's actually pretty good, right? So if you post them up, like on your home objective or the objective in your backfield or your territory, you're actually going to be hitting on 3s and wounding on 3s. 2 damage with an auto wound. That's pretty decent. And their keyword is infantry. And then finally, here we go. We got the Beast Skewer Killbow. It's got 5 health. It's going to move 5 inches. It's got a 5-up save and 2 control points. You have a ranged weapon, Beast Skewer Bolts. Their range is 24 inches, even better. You're going to get 2 attacks, hitting on 4s, wounding on 2s, rend 2, and damage D6. And damage, you're going to roll a dice, and whatever that dice says, that's the amount of damage. And they have an ability, auto wound, as well. And then their melee weapon is Jaggedy Blades, 2 attacks, hitting on 4s, wounding on 3s, 0 rend, damage 1, also doing mortals. So this entire spearhead, their melee weapons do mortals. This unit also has an ability. It's passive. It's called Skewered. The damage characteristic of this unit's Beast Skewer Bolts is 6 instead of D6 if the target is a monster. That is awesome. So you're getting 2 attacks with a right? You're getting 2 attacks. You're going to auto wound if you roll a 6. And then if you're against a monster, it's flat 6 damage. So let's say you roll 2 6s. You're going to auto wound with 6. That is 12 damage. That's crazy. That's awesome. So good. So good against monsters. Awesome. And there you go, guys. Those are the War Scrolls. Pretty exciting. Pretty exciting to have a melee army that has mortals and auto wounds. That's pretty powerful. And finally, guys, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the SWAT analysis for the Orruk Warclans here. Now, if you've watched any of my other videos, you know that as a IT director, I've been working on a language model, AI, that builds databases for 40K and for Age of Sigmar, and I feed it all the rules and the parameters and the battle scrolls and the data sheets, and then I use all that data and all those data points to create these SWOT analyses that really help us nail down the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats to each spearhead army. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what the AI has to say about the Orruk Warclans. Let's start with strengths. First of all, they have a strong offensive capability. The Swampskulka Gang includes powerful units like the Killab Boss on a Great Nastooth and Skewer Boltboys, which can deliver significant damage in both melee and ranged combat. Ambush tactics. The ability to use covered in mud allows units to remain hidden and strike at opportune moments, providing a strategic advantage and in surprise attacks. They have durability. Units like the Killab Boss and Merknob with Belchabana have high save characteristics and additional abilities like ward saves, making them resilient in prolonged engagements. And finally, debuffing enemy units. Abilities such as Noisy Racket and Scare Tactics reduce enemy effectiveness, making it harder for opponents to land successful hits. And then I will throw in a bonus one, versatile enhancements. Enhancements like Egomaniacs and Eye Bitter Ash provide situational advantages, improving survivability and combat effectiveness. Weaknesses of this box: reliance on synergies. The effectiveness of the Swampskulka Gang is heavily resilient on the synergies between units and their proximity to key leaders, which can be disrupted by strategic enemy plays. Mixed mobility is also another weakness. While some units like the Killab Boss on Great Nastooth are highly mobile, others like the Gut Rippers have lower movement speeds, potentially causing issues with coordinated maneuvers. Vulnerability to focused fire. Key units and heroes that provide crucial buffs and command abilities are prime targets for opponents, and their loss can significantly weaken the army's overall performance. And finally, complex abilities management. Managing the various abilities and timing them correctly requires careful planning and execution, which can be challenging in the heat of battle. So, not anything in weaknesses wise that's like really any different than any other spearhead, right? There's not a critical weakness. You just have to play the game, protect your leaders. You have to plan a little bit. You're going to be vulnerable. Your leaders are going to have a big target on them, so you want to keep them protected. And that's about it. But that's every army, right? Like, that's the name of the game. It's a strategic game. So just be mindful of that. Opportunities. Number one is objective control. With abilities to hide and ambush, the Swampskulka Gang can effectively control and contest objectives, gaining strategic advantages in scenario-based play. Exploiting enemy weaknesses. The debuffing capabilities of the army allow them to exploit enemy weaknesses, reducing their combat effectiveness and turning the tide in critical moments. Another opportunity is leveraging those enhancements. The wide range of enhancements available provides opportunities to tailor the army to specific strategies and opponents, maximizing their combat potential. And finally, surprise tactics. Utilizing ambush tactics and strategic deployment can catch opponents off guard, allowing the Swampskulka Gang to disrupt enemy plans and achieve battlefield dominance. And finally, threats. Let's take a look at threats to this army. Targeted elimination of key units. We've already talked about that a little bit. Opponents may focus on eliminating key leaders and units that provide crucial buffs and command abilities, undermining the army's effectiveness. Disruption of synergies. Strategies that disrupt the orcs' unit synergies and positioning can significantly reduce their combat effectiveness and ability to control the battlefield. High damage opponents, but this is a threat to everyone, right? I don't know an army that's not threatened by high damage opponents, but let's cover it. Armies with strong high damage unit abilities can quickly deplete the Swampskulka Gang's ranks, making it difficult for them to maintain their battlefield presence. And finally, attrition warfare. Prolonged engagements can wear down the Orruk's strengths, especially if key units are lost early or if the army faces sustained high damage attacks. In conclusion, the Orruk Warclans Swampskulka Gang in Spearhead mode offers a versatile and powerful force with strong offensive capabilities and effective ambush tactics. However, their success depends on careful management of synergies, protection of key units, and strategic use of their unique abilities. By leveraging their strengths and mitigating potential threats, the Swampskulka Gang can be a formidable and unpredictable opponent on the battlefield. And there you have it, guys. Thank you so much. That is the breakdown for the Orruk Warclans Swampskulka Gang in Spearhead. Let me know what you thought of the video. I would love to hear your feedback and start a conversation with you guys about this. Do you play this Spearhead box? Do you plan on playing this Spearhead box? Have you had success with the box? If you had, let me know in the comments. Let me know how it worked for you. If you follow any of these tips or any of these tricks, let me know in the comments. I really want to know if these videos are helping you guys. That is super important to me. That's the whole reason I make these, is to try to make games of not only Combat Patrol, but of Spearhead easy for casual players to jump in and kind of know what they're doing and how to play their armies. So if it helps you, please let me know. I really appreciate all you guys watching, subscribing, supporting the channel. If you have suggestions for other videos, send me a message. You can message me, The Miniatures Tavern, here on YouTube. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Twitter. It's the same across all platforms, The Miniatures Tavern. And thank you so much for suggesting this one. I had a lot of fun making the video. And once again, my name is Watts, and I will see you in the next video.